Hey there folks, and welcome to yet another thrilling video featuring my G87M2. As you can tell from the title, today's video is not really going to be about my car, it's going to be about autocrossing and track daying if you are a neophyte. So there's already a lot of content on YouTube talking about how to prepare for a track day, how to prepare for autocross, but I thought I would throw my hat into the ring specifically from the perspective of a neophyte myself. One thing I've noticed as I have entered and then grown in various hobbies is that people who already know a lot of stuff can sometimes have blind spots for the sorts of concerns and worries that a new person might have. So my hope is that because I've only done a handful of autocrosses and a handful of track days, I have enough experience to impart some useful tips, but I'll also be approaching it from a perspective that's a little bit more digestible if you've never done any of this at all. Anyway, with that intro out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about what you need in order to prep for a track day. All right, before we get too carried away, I want to start with probably the most important piece of advice that I can give you if you're new to this stuff. There is a lot of noise on YouTube and on the internet, myself included, and all the information that you really need and all the stuff that you really need to bring is going to be outlined in the event description by the event organizer. Now, obviously not everybody is as good as everybody else at stuff, but my experience has been that event organizers that advertise on places like motorsportreg.com do a really nice job of giving you all the information that you can need to have a good day at their event. So to cut out the noise, if this is your first time doing this, once you pick an event, and it's very easy to do that. Again, for autocross, you really don't need that much, and we'll talk about some specifics in a little bit, but pick the event that you want to go to, read every single word that they've written on the page. They'll often have forms that you can download that have like checklists for what the tech inspection looks like. Look at all that information and use that as your guiding star for the decisions that you make. Anyway, that having been said, to go a little bit more in depth, the way that I approach this is I pack for the car and I pack for myself, and I treat those exercises separately. Now, we'll talk about the car in a second, but the stuff that the human needs is relatively short, so I just want to get that out of the way. First and foremost, please wear sunscreen and have a hat, especially if you're follically challenged like I am, and sunglasses. I'm a really big fan of sun shirts because then you don't have schmutz all over your arms and hands and stuff, which you're going to be grabbing stuff inside of the vehicle. So protect yourself from the sun. Relatedly, you also want to have plenty of water because some of the events might not have water fountains. In fact, most of them don't, especially if we're talking about autocross. In addition to water, you obviously also are going to need food. Snacks are really important. I will die on this hill. Now, personally, I'm a really big fan of PB&J, so when I'm doing autocross, I'll just buy like a loaf of bread and bring peanut butter and jelly and a knife and make sandwiches that way, and that allows you to kind of, again, have something to munch on throughout the day. The next thing that the squishy human needs, of course, is safety equipment, and there really is only one thing that you need for most of these events. The most important piece of safety equipment, of course, is your helmet, because you need to protect your noggin. Most event coordinators will require it to be, where is the sticker? What the hell is the sticker? Oh yeah, here we go. Snell rated. You need your helmet to be Snell rated, otherwise it's not going to pass tech inspection. If you don't want to buy a helmet, which is understandable, a lot of autocross events especially will rent out helmets. So that's something, again, check the event details and see if that's something that's available to you. The final thing that I wanted to mention, this is almost like a meme, I feel, in the performance driving community. Get yourself just a cheap little dinky folding chair. Especially for autocross, there are no facilities. That's sort of how autocross works. And having to sit in your car or in your trunk is kind of a bummer. It's nice being able to actually like sit down and relax in between sessions. And a cheap little folding chair like this one, I think I paid like 20 bucks at a like thrift store for this thing, and it works a treat. It just gives you somewhere to sit down, which is nice. All right, so now that we got all the stuff that the squishy human needs out of the way, let's talk about the actual car itself. Now, as I alluded to earlier, tech is usually actually quite superficial. If you're driving a car that's as new as this one is, you don't even really need to think about tech. Obviously, you should read what is in there and double check to make sure that there aren't any weird quirks about your vehicle that are going to cause issues. But generally speaking, if your car has been made in the last 10 years, it's very unlikely that you are going to run into tech issues as long as you have been taking care of your car. That having been said though, I'm gonna go ahead and pop the hood and we'll take a tour around the engine bay and use that as a means of talking through the stuff that you do want to check before you get on track. All right, so welcome to the engine bay. I'm gonna be using my little magnetic wand here to point at some things to draw your attention to them. So first of all, we do want to double check the coolant. Your car is going to be getting hotter than it normally does, and in addition to keeping a close eye on the engine temperature while you're driving, you want to start out on the right foot and make sure that you have enough coolant. You want to make sure that you don't have too much because, again, you're going to be putting a lot of load on the system, and if there's too much pressure in there, you're going to blow a gasket, literally, not figuratively. The next thing, as I have alluded to, is the engine oil, which you can't see anyway. BMW in their infinite wisdom, stop me if you've heard me complain about this before on this channel, didn't put a dipstick on this car. So to check the oil, I have to drive the car and wait for the engine to get up to operating temperature, and then the computer will tell me if there's enough oil in it, which is very annoying. But anyway, make sure that you have enough oil and make sure that it's fresh. Okay, it's kind of silly to change the camera angle just to get this, but I remember very vividly the first time I saw this master cylinder, and it's just so big. I just feel like I have to show it every time. The final thing that you need to check, of course, is your brake fluid. One really important thing that I have noticed in the throughout my life of owning vehicles is that, especially if you're getting your car serviced at the dealership, dealerships love to overfill this, so do make sure that you don't have too much. As is the case with every fluid, you want the correct amount. More is not better. It's definitely not better. So make sure that you have the right amount of brake fluid in here. You want the brake fluid to look relatively clean. You don't want it to look like crap. And if it does look rough, this is one thing that I would actually recommend changing before your track day or your autocross, especially if you're driving an older vehicle and you're not really sure the type of brake fluid that's in here. Having good brake fluid is really important for confidence because it'll give you consistent braking performance throughout your day. All right, if I really had any sense, I probably would have started here because I think tires are probably the thing that people are the most worried about with autocross and track days. So what I will say is that you do not need a dedicated performance summer tire like this to do anything on track or doing autocross. The whole point of autocross is for it to be cheap fun with just your normal car, and while a really good tire will make the experience more fun, it's just not necessary. Now, that having been said, there is one thing that I do want to encourage you to keep an eye on throughout your day, and that is the tire temperature and the pressure. A lot of people, and I also had this misconception the first time I did an autocross, I thought that I was gonna want to let air out of the tire to widen the contact patch and to get better grip. But you actually don't want that, especially for autocross, because autocross, just the nature of how the courses work, is that they're usually very short, tight, and twisty. What that means is that you're gonna be getting a lot of weight transfer as you're changing direction, and that is gonna be smushing your outer tires, you know, depending on like what corner you're doing. And so you actually want more air than you normally run to give the sidewalls more support so that the tire doesn't deform as much when you're going through the corners. Now, this unfortunately is one of those things where it's very hard to give a concrete number. Personally, with my car, it is quite heavy. The door jamb asks for 32 PSI, and I like to start at 35 and then monitor the pressure and temperature as well as the wear pattern on the tire itself as I'm driving. Your car is going to be different. It's gonna have a different PSI on the door jamb, and then you, as you're driving it, are gonna be putting heat into the tire differently. My advice is this is where, unfortunately, it is good to maybe wisdom of crowds it a little bit and go on to a forum for your car and see what people are doing. All right, there's probably a bunch more that I could say about this topic, but I think this is enough to get you started. If you're thinking about autocrossing your car, Just do it. It is an enormous amount of fun. It has sort of the energy of like a small town's town fair sort of thing. There's always a lot of really great vibes. There's really cool people. It's a lot of fun, and you do not have to be fast. I've seen old Nissan Sentras. I've seen, there was a Chevy HSS or HHS, whatever that weird shoebox looking thing. People drive all sorts of different cars there, and the only goal is for you to have fun and go fast. And that's gonna mean different things for different people, different cars, different skill sets. Just do it. It is an enormous amount of fun. That's all I wanted to say on this subject. Again, I could probably make this video twice as long, but I wanted to give just kind of a concise, not overwhelming intro to prepping a car for a track day. Obviously, in addition to the fluids and the tires, you just want to kind of look around the vehicle and make sure there isn't anything unusual going on. But again, for autocross especially, it's a relatively, I mean, you know, it's dangerous, but it's a relatively safe way to have fun and feel what your car can really do. Anyway, that wraps up this video. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions about track day prep or autocross or the G87, definitely let me know. I'm looking for video ideas because I've run out of modifications that I want to do to the car right now. So if you have any ideas, let me know. Do please like and subscribe. It makes a big difference. I am about to hit 50 subscribers, which sounds very like, oh, that's so cute, but it's very exciting. And I really appreciate all the folks who have been tuning in. It's been fun getting to chat with some of y'all in the comments. So yeah, stay tuned and I'll see you in the next one.